We're back by popular demand. It's Season 2 of the Wedcast, brought to you by Film Media Wedding Videography. Well, it's Wednesday, and that can only mean one thing. It is time for the Wedcast. My name's James. Welcome to today's show, Episode 9. And what an exciting show we have today, because for the first time ever in the show's history, we are talking to another wedding videography company. That's right. Although I am Film Media Wedding Videography, myself and Emily, today we are talking to my good friend Matt Ling, who runs another videography company in the local area called Zest Media. Now, I've worked with Matt a few times. We sort of help each other out. So, for example, if one person gets inquired for a job and the other person can't do it, then we hand the work on to them. And that's how we work, really. And we're kind of there for each other, so we can talk a little bit about various different weddings that we've got coming up and techniques and stuff for wedding films. So we're going to talk to Matt today, have a little chat with him, and see how he gets on. We've also got Leo back in the studio. He is here. He's got a question to ask Matt. Very, very excited for this one. It's going to be very, very good. So without further ado, let's bring Matt in, have a good chat with him. Hello, Matt. Welcome to the Wedcast. It's absolutely brilliant to have you on. How are you today?
Oh, good, James. Thank you. Very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's absolutely brilliant to have you on. I was saying at the beginning of the show, this is the first time we've had another videographer from a different videography company come on to talk a little bit about what they do. The reason I asked you on is I wanted to kind of get your perspective of things, because we work in different ways. Although we both do videography, we work in different styles. So I wanted to just bring you on and have a chat, really. So my first question really is for you: is how did you get started in this line of work?
Oh, blimey. It's a bit of a long story, but I'll try and keep that as short and sweet as possible. But my dad used to be a wedding photographer years ago. I'm 51 now, so I'm talking when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. He used to work for Coles and Anglesey Supercolour. That was in the good old days of film. No digital cameras were in sight in those days. But he always had a story to tell, always had different types of weddings to go to. And midweek he would always pop out, come back with the proofs, lay them all out on the kitchen table, number them all up, just looking at the different styles of shots from there. Always took an interest. Like I say, he'd always have a story to tell. I've always been quite creative myself. Although I never took art at school, I used to love drawing and colouring as a kid and stuff like that. So I always had that little creative side in me. Always been dabbling about with the video recorder with the kids. You'd always be a cine camera kicking around the house, so I'd always be making little animations and stuff and what have you. Flash forward to must be about 20 years ago. I at the time was working for Archant. There's quite a few people in this game have done over the past.
Yeah.
I was off sick for 18 months. I never knew I was going to be off that length of time. Long story short, I had a cyst at the base of my brain, which, thank God, that weren't malicious, that weren't malignant. That was malignant. Wasn't cancer or anything. I just had to have that taken out at Addenbrooke's, but that was causing a lot of this. That was pressing on a nerve at the base of my brain and making me feel really dizzy. So I wasn't allowed to work for 18 months. During that time, I got really bored. My sister got married, and I'm thinking, what can I do? I know, I'll film it for you with this crappy little camera I had.
Yeah.
And I did it, and it's rubbish. It's absolute pants. Some would say my work is now, but there we go. Yeah. And they loved it. And at the time, their best man said, "Oh, I'm getting married in a couple of months. Will you film mine?" And I think, I'll pay you. And I thought, excuse me, you'll pay me? And and that sort of went from there. I just loved it. I loved the whole process of the day, although it is very scary, because, you've been literally jumping in the deep end, doing something I've never really done before, even though I'd had that sort of inkling from my dad, from his experiences and what have you. The protocols of the day more than anything, and the do's and don'ts. Just done a few family and friends over the next 2 or 3 years, and then thought, you know what, I want to take this further. And at that point, I'd had about 10, 12 weddings under my belt. I just Google, whoever was at the time, was about sort of 20 odd years ago. There weren't very many videographers in the area about.
Yeah.
And I came across Reminiscent Films. They're no longer going. There's David Blake. Now, there's two David Blakes. David Blake, who I know, who was of Reminiscent Films, and there's another David Blake, who I don't know, who's actually a photographer, who many might know. But David Blake of Reminiscent Films, I just picked him out. I sent him an email, and within just for a bit of help and advice, really, and about half an hour later, he emailed back and said, "Give me a call, and I'll have a chat with you." I had that call that weekend. I went out with him as a second shooter. Absolutely loved it, and I never looked back. So I think I worked probably about 7 or 8 scenes with him, learning the trade, really learning the camera craft, the do's and don'ts, the protocols of the day, and then I decided to go my own way. He sort of stepped away from it. In the end, I was doing all the filming and editing, and he was just getting all the bookings. But, you know, I owe a lot to Dave, because he really did set me on my way. He didn't have to do that. You know, he could have told me to, you know, bugger off and, you know, find someone else to sort of give you help and advice. But he did. He took that time. I'm still good friends with him now. Help him out now and again with little things and vice versa. And but yeah, and set up Zest Media. I think that was in 2011, 2012, and that's gone from strength to strength. Obviously, COVID was a little bit difficult for everybody, but yeah, onwards and upwards.
Absolutely, and
that's great. That, like I said, it's a long story, but that is my story. Everyone's got their story and how they came to be, and yeah, that's mine.
It's interesting because obviously you touched on the fact there that your dad was into the filming and side like that. So, in some respects, you kind of grew up with it. So it was kind of in a way like a family business, which you fell in love with. Would you say that's a fair thing?
Yeah, he was a photographer, but you know, they captured the image and the protocols and the stories of the day are all pretty much the same for everybody, aren't they? So it's,
absolutely.
But yeah, that was in my blood right from early doors. But the funny thing is, he looks at the styles of photographers and videographers in this day and age, and he doesn't understand what do you want to take a photo of that for, and because they were very set in their ways. Everything was very everything was group shots, and you know there was nothing too arty about it, and everything was the same. But that was just the style of the day. So yeah, he's getting on a bit now, bless him. But he doesn't get the what the modern day photographer, videographer will see and capture and create. There's a very big difference in style, put it that way.
In 2015, I started Film Media, right? So next year is my 10 years doing this, and obviously in that time, you know, styles, trends, the equipment, everything has changed. I mean, obviously you said you started around 2011 time. You must have noticed a difference in technology change and the way people want videos. It's insane, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I started by myself, just as a hobbyist, that was literally on old high-aim tapes. Yeah. Which was just like your old tape deck at home, and in the car would quite often get chewed up, which was disastrous.
Yeah.
And then moving on to mini DV, which was a lot better quality and a lot more stable, but you still had tape dropout and everything when it came to editing and getting your raw footage off. Everything was done in real time, so that you had 90 minutes of footage that took you 90 minutes to get it off. Whereas now that everything went digital, which is great. You can store massive amounts of data on your cards and stuff, and that literally takes. That can take seconds to get your footage off. But like you say, technology changes, and with that style changes. But yeah, I mean. It's only be a good thing, can't it? That makes you wonder where we're going with it next.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we're now in the world of 4K. That seems to be the way at the moment.
Yeah.
But obviously 8K is around the corner. File sizes are getting bigger. SD cards are getting more expensive. Hard drives are getting more expensive. It's a constant keeping your business relevant and keeping the right equipment that you need to keep the modern day wedding couple happy. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting to see how it's obviously changed. As you said, you started with tapes. You've now moved all the way up through, and it's just it is insane. Because I remember we had when I lived at home when I was younger, we had a
top loader.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I can't think of my words today. Anyway, that's what we had. And then obviously over time, it's really changing. So who knows where we'll be in another 10 years from now? You know, it's absolute insanity.
Yeah.
So the name Zest Media. Then, how did you come up with that?
Interesting. You know, I can't wait. That's quite a way ago. When I first set up the Zest, that was my brother-in-law Dave Alderton. Again, I owe quite a bit to him, and he funded the whole thing to begin with. The idea was we went in it together. He was going to source equipment, get bookings, and I would do the film and edit, etc. He was the advertising side and stuff. He's got quite a good business head on him, and we sat there for ages trying to think of a name, and I can laugh about it now, but at the time, he came up with the idea of calling it Swanky Media, and I said, I'm not calling it Swanky Media, and he said, that's great, you need something that's going to stick out. And he said, think about it, what's the most annoying advert on TV? And I said, and at the time, that was the Go Compare advert. Yeah. And I think, he said, exactly, that annoys people, but what's the first thing you Google when you're looking for car insurance? Go Compare, because that sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
So his idea was to have this really out there name, Swanky Media, but I wasn't having any of it.
Swanky? No, it sounds a bit...
Yeah, you could misinterpret it as other things, and others will say, yeah, that fits, Matt, that fits, but I just wanted something a bit fresh, a bit different, and then we were just writing keywords down. Fresh was one of those keywords. Something fresh, a little bit different. At the time, I seemed to be doing something a little bit different to anybody else.
Yeah.
And so with the fresh, and you think, right, what's a plan with fresh? And you think, right, okay, and zest, fresh, you know, zest for lemon, zest for an orange. It's nice and fresh, and so that's where the zest came from. And I've got this wish. I like Zeds. I just think they look great. When a dog we had once, we were trying to think of what we were going to call it, and I came out with the name Jazz. And why Jazz? Because I like Zeds, and we can have two Zeds. You know?
I love it, Jazz, fantastic.
So yeah, Zest, and then just the colouring. Really down to my wife, where she loves the colour green. That was either being Zest. That was either going to be a yellow or green, and we felt yellow doesn't really stand up as much. Especially anybody who sees me knows I wear black most of the time.
Yeah.
When I'm filming, try to be inconspicuous, which is a little bit difficult when you're 6'3".
Well, I didn't realise you were 6'3". I didn't realise you were that tall.
Yeah, with my high heels on, yeah.
With your heels on, yeah.
Yeah, with my heels. And we just felt the green would stick out more on the black, and yeah, so it's a bit of a boring story, but that's how we come across it. Yeah, but that very, very nearly was Swanky Media, which
as you said, everyone's got a story that leads into how they got their business and how you got into the wedding industry. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I do this show, because although you get to see suppliers and stuff at weddings, obviously we don't really work weddings together, but obviously we do see each other from time to time, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you don't always get much of time to just talk about how you got into things like this. This is one of the reasons I love to do it, and I also love to do it this time of year, because obviously it's a quieter time of year, and you also kind of like, it's a chance for bride and grooms to have a little listen about your business and about how you started and about how you do things, because everyone does it in a different way. So with that being said, talk me through then your process then. So if I was going to come and book you for a wedding, I'm looking for a videographer, how do I go about contacting you? What do I have to do? And how does your process of booking and things like that work, Matt?
Well, like most people, with the inquiries or the bookings would come in through either wedding fairs. We've got one big one at the weekend, the East Anglia Wedding Show at North Showground,
yep.
Probably the biggest wedding show in the area. We get a lot of bookings from there. I guess usually two at different shows. Social media plays a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
So they may contact me through there, Instagram, Facebook Messenger. Then you've got emails. Some people will find you through Google, and then you have the good old-fashioned phone calls, which you have very rarely. Most are through text, email, or messenger. But yeah, you get the odd phone call. And then you get those that are through word of mouth. And to be quite honest with you, the inquiries and the bookings I get through word of mouth mean more to me than anything. That's not taking away from any of the others, other ways of getting booked. It just means that somewhere along the line, someone's been really happy with the quality of work, what they received, and had been really kind on recommending me.
No, I get that too. It's lovely. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so once we got that booking, or once we get that inquiry, obviously if I'm available, talk them through the packages available. In the old days, when I used to go out and visit people and sit in the living room and ball my tears probably, what's available and what have you. But most days it's over a message, phone call or whatever.
Yeah, it's the same with
talking through how that day would work, just so that's not completely alien to them on the day. They might want to have a look at the work in more detail, so I would usually send them a link. I sort of gauge the type of wedding they is as a church wedding, a civil ceremony, and even sort of venues where we're filmed before. I'll send them a link to a wedding of similar styles, a similar venue or the same venue, so they can sit back in the comfort of their own home and watch a full film in its entirety, so they'll know exactly how that day would pan out. And then once it's booked, and then we just wait for the big day, and then that's pretty much it.
So in regards to yourself then, when you provide the couple a film, do you provide a full-length film, or is it more of a shorter show reel sort of film? How do you do things?
Well, I'm quite documentary style, which by its format it ends up being quite a lengthy film, but that is broken down into several chapters. So you have a prelude. The prelude is I always ask them to provide a list of music they want to use on their film, and one of those I asked that needs to be quite fast paced. We apply for PPL and MCPS license to enable us to use the music. The only issue that you can't use those on social media, so we have to then change that music to something that's royalty free. But take that away from it, we ask them to submit that list of music, but one of those needs to be something that's quite fast paced, high tempo, and that is solely for the prelude. And the prelude is a quick glimpse of what's to come. You blink and you miss it, almost like the music video. Blink and you miss it, and with the hope of that should be even thinking, wow, I want to see some more. Then you have the intro that set the scene, whether it's a church or civil ceremony, the exterior of the venue or the church, guests arriving, the service itself, the photo shoot, so when they're having the photos done, I'll get a little bit of that, but more importantly, what was happening while they were having those photos done, because they're all little parts that they won't know anything about until they sit down a few weeks later and watch the film. Most of my stuff is candid, so half the time people don't know they're being filmed, which is, I think you get the best out of people that way.
Yeah.
Then we do the obvious 10-15 minutes with a couple, take them off on their own with the photographer, and have them walking off hand in hand, having a kiss, having a cuddle. Then we've got the speeches, obviously, even guests arriving, cutting the cake, first dance, and then the whole thing ends on a reprise, a montage of the day.
Lovely.
So, although I've got those little segments, so you've got the intro, you've got the prelude, you've got the speeches, you've got the montage, the main body of it is documentary style with those cinematic pieces interspersed within it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we then give them a link to download and view it on their phone, the tablet, the smart TV, the desktop, laptop, whatever. But even now, most people still like to have a hard copy, so we still give them a DVD copy, which, as you know, the process absolutely kills the quality of the image.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just the compression that the whole process has to go through. But it's still, I get that. I still like to have a hard copy there on your shelf. But the digital copy gives you the better quality image, the sharper images.
Absolutely.
More detail in the shot, obviously, as close to the original footage as possible. But yeah, that's that in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I have similar for me. Like, obviously, they can have a USB stick, they can put it on, or a DVD.
Yeah.
But obviously, DVD, as you said, does kill the quality of the image. Obviously, the higher you shoot it, when you put it on
there, that's very depressing when you see it.
Yeah, you're like, oh my goodness, this is on a DVD. They want to watch it. Oh goodness, okay. But yeah, it's one of them things. It's one of them things, and people still like it. And that's. I mean, personally, for myself, I don't really own a DVD player, but I don't really use a DVD player. Everything now is online and digital anyway, isn't it? But it's what people want. So you touched upon the fact that obviously you're on social media. Do you keep up with social media quite well? Are you on TikTok or anything like that?
You know what? I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I am terrible with social media. I mean, my hat's off to those. I mean, you see me on it all the time. There's some out there, they just post them 2 or 3 times a day with really interesting content, and I find it hard to find that time to do that.
Yeah.
But the other is like trying to be posting something different, something from the norm, and I'm my own worst enemy for that. Yeah, that is one thing I should work on, really.
As you said, it can be time consuming, and it's also trying to remember, because when I'm shooting a wedding, I try and take a little bit of time just to go on and say, for example, I'm at a venue in Norfolk today, this is the weather, and I try and just have some fun with it, really. But sometimes you can forget. But I try to.
I always forget.
Yeah, you always forget. So, in regards to sort of turnaround time, then, so if they were to book you, just say it was an August day, you'd had 3 weddings that month, or 4 or 5 weddings that month, how long turnaround time would you give them before you get the video back?
Well, yeah, I mean, I usually say between 4 to 6 weeks, but to be honest with you, when you get to that time of the year, I know you're pretty much the same. You then stacked up.
Yep.
If you're doing one a week, sometimes, I mean, there was quite a few occasions last year where I was doing 2 and 3 weddings a week.
Yeah.
Not every week, but there was a few weeks where like that. And then you get the odd week where there isn't one, which is nice. You can spend a bit of time with the family, or that gives you a chance to catch up a bit. By the end of last year, I think I was at one point, 12 edits
Wow.
in the queue, which probably equated to about 12 weeks. I mean, for the end of it, I got the last one I got done and sent a week before Christmas.
Me too.
The bride and groom, they've been waiting 12 weeks, or maybe a little bit more. But I kept them informed.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's something they want to see, and but I've never had a problem with it. You get the odd email or phone call chasing it up, asking how we're getting on with it, and you just have to be honest, saying we're snowed under, but we are getting there. I'd rather people sort of be chasing you because they're still waiting for it, rather than you've rushed it and gone through it, and then they chased you up and saying, you clearly rushed through this. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah. Generally 4 to 6 weeks, but it can take up to 10 to 12. But it's not by choice. It's just the amount of work we need to get through. Yourself. I mean, these photographers get it easy, don't they? They'll sit there. They've got it edited within a couple of days.
Well, they could just stick on their Photoshop AI and just let them do it for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
we haven't got that luxury.
Things for video, but I never dream of shipping that out elsewhere. Or, but that takes anywhere from 30 to 40 hours for an edit. So you're looking at a good week to get that edit. That's without uploading it onto your desktop and stuff and getting it converted ready for edit. And
it's all the rendering. The rendering takes
time. The rendering process takes forever. But But yeah, and then you'll sit there and you'll go through it and check and double check and before you're ready to release it and go with it. But yeah, that is a very lengthy process.
And this is one I
enjoy. Yeah, it is one I enjoy.
Yeah, this is something that people don't realise, because obviously I always say, the easiest part of filming a wedding is filming the actual wedding. It's everything after which takes the time. And similar to you, actually, last year, I was a week before Christmas I finished, and that's probably one of the latest I've finished weddings last year.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was a really busy year, and I don't know about you, but like when you've got like 8 or 9 in the queue and you've got one straight after when you finish, you kind of get a bit blind with editing. I don't know if you know what I mean, but you're like...
Yeah, I've said that before to friends or family, and you can sit there and you're going through the edit. Your mind almost goes blank. I guess it's a similar thing to write the blog. You think, right, what shot do I need next? What do I need to fill that gap? And
absolutely,
how do I want the narrative of this to go? And you sit there, or there might be a technical issue where you can't get something to work quite right. And I'll sit there and you have to come away from it because you get blind to it, and you come away from it. My wife usually sits there and says, come away from it. Just take a dog or have a coffee, just go and take a couple of rounds at anything. No, because I'm really stubborn, and I'll sit there trying to get to the bottom of the problem. Then I'll give in, go away. I might go back there the next morning. I'm quite often up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning finishing stuff. So I'll go away, come back to it, and God's law, the answer's staring you right in the face.
Yeah, and one thing I found is it's kind of like you have to be in the right mindset to edit, because if you're not, if you're not, there's no point doing it.
No, exactly that.
You have to be in that right mindset, because it can be really hard, especially if you've been sat there and you're not in the right mood. Walk away. Yeah. Walk away and come back when you're feeling a bit better.
My wife would say, I'm always in a mood, so I'm always walking away from it. But yeah, 100% agree. But we don't. I not only do weddings anyway. We do a lot of dance shows. I think you do a few as well. Actually, you filmed one for me, didn't you? A couple of years back. But
that was a few
years. We do quite a few dance shows, and they're a different kettle of fish altogether. Although the filming process is. It's a setting up that takes time to do when you're on a multi-camera shoot. But there's no narrative to it as such. You haven't got to make that storyline up because it's there in front of you on the stage. It's the process of setting up and then doing the edit. So that's a different kettle of fish altogether. So when you go from one dance show to then your next edit is a wedding, you've got to be in a completely different mindset to do that. It's really strange how your brain sort of get muddled almost. But
absolutely. I mean,
that's it. But I enjoy doing the dance shows. It's something a little bit different, less stressful.
I do too. I mean, I do Sam Streets. He does 2 a year. The rock and roll show in Hey Rock and Roll in Galston. That's on twice a year.
Yeah.
I film that with him, and he has his son in it. And each year I film it because his son. It's all about. Basically, they raise money towards the Great Ormond Street, and I think it's a nice charity to do for. So I film that for them, and each year they can see his son growing up in it, and I think that's really nice. I do that one, and I just done one recently, Ormiston Venture, the high school there. They did they put production on each year. Last year they did Annie. This year they've just done Fame, so I recorded that for them.
Cool.
And it's really nice. It's kind of it's nice to do it this time of year as well, because then it kind of gets you back into filming mode. Although it's not a wedding, but it gets your mind back into where
exactly that.
You try and have a little bit of a rest over Christmas, and then you want to get back into it. Then obviously wedding fairs start up again, and then as we slowly get further into the year, then the weddings start coming in, and then it just explodes into a busy year. Hopefully it will be this year anyway.
Let's hope so. I'm sure it will. It's always this sort of around the New Year period. It's always a little bit slow, and then you start to pick up the inquiries because people got engaged over the Christmas period, and then you've got Valentine's. And I don't know about you, it always then goes a little bit slow again while people then think about the holidays.
Yeah.
And then that'll pick up again later on in the year. But yeah, that'll pick up. I'm sure it will.
So, in regards to, I looked on your website, it said that you also do VHS to DVD conversions. Has that been something you've been doing for a while?
Yeah, I've always done. I mean, Victor Ling is the go-to man for that at Darkers. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me mentioning that, but yeah, I try and shy away from it if I can, because it's such a laborious task. It really is, setting up, dragging out the old VCR out of the cupboard, and
we had
setting up to a capture card, and and you look at the quality of it, and you think, it's quite a laborious task. But yeah, so if I ever get asked,
you can do it.
The first point to call.
I mean,
I can do it. I do it. But there's so many different formats that you've got VHS. No one's ever come to me with Betamax, thank God.
No one's come to you for that.
VHS and mini DV tapes. We've got a DVD player here somewhere. DVD, mini DV player, high 8.
God, going back some years. Yeah.
It's, and then you've got to rely on the actual tapes because they do degrade over time. So people think they're dug out. I've had that several times. I've got stuff from our kids growing up. Can you put this to DVD or a link for us to download? And the amount of times I looked at stuff, and you get a lot of tape drop out, which was the thing with any magnetic tape, or if it hasn't been stored correctly, it's just degraded. And there's nothing really there to pull off the tape. So that can be very time consuming, very laborious, and sometimes the end result sometimes isn't worth the effort. But if that's the way people have had that stored for years and they need to digitise it, I get it. It's definitely something we can do.
Yeah, I mean, we had Victor Ling on episode 2 this season. I had a chat with him, and obviously he does all his photo booths and stuff. So he's the man to go to. Then obviously you and him are the men to go to if you need anything like that sorting out.
Yeah, go with Victor.
Go to Victor.
We're both Lings, but we're not related. We often have that.
Yeah, you're not related, but the Ling brothers, huh?
The Ling brothers, yeah, separated birth.
That's right.
But yeah, Victor's the go-to guy on that. I'll let him take that.
So, Zest Media, then, you're based in Reedham? Is that in Norwich, just outside the Norwich area?
Yeah, Reedham. We're in the middle of Norfolk Border. I mean, as the crow flies, we're just probably about 6-7 miles away from you, but we're near Pettit, not far from there.
Oh, I know, yeah.
But we moved here 18 months ago. We were at Queen's Hill, which was near the Norfolk Showground. Yep. I've been there for 18 years, but through circumstance we had to we privately rented, long story short, and the landlord was selling up, and so my wife has got serious back problems, and we lived in a 3-story townhouse, lovely big house, but the stairs were getting a bit difficult for her, so we were looking to move anyway, and then the landlord was selling up, so we thought, oh well, that choice has been taken out of our hands anyway, we're going to have to do it. And we found this lovely place at Reedham. That needed a hell of a lot of work going to it, but yeah, I absolutely love it here. And best move, probably the best move, literally, we've ever made. So we're loving it.
Fab. So, although you're in Reedham, then what areas do you cover? Do you travel?
Oh, I'd go anywhere. I had never done a destination wedding, as in abroad, which I'd love to do.
I haven't done that either. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Most of my weddings are Norfolk, Suffolk, but I have travelled into Kent, done a few in London area over the years. Year before last, I was up in Lancashire and Burnley. Basically, that was a bridesmaid for a wedding I filmed in King's Lynn.
Yep. 2
years previous. Loved my work, loved what I did, loved me, because people not only invest in your work, they invest in you, don't they? That's you need to get along with people, they need to understand you, and vice versa. And so she loved me and loved me and my work, which is great. And she always laughed and said that whenever she got married, I'm going to be doing it. All right, fair enough. And so about 4 or 5 years down down the line, she got in touch to say, I'm getting married, and the trouble is that I now live in Burnley. Will you travel? Of course I would.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd go anywhere in the UK, really. But
Nice.
I would love to do a destination when abroad. But that's on my bucket list, really.
Me too. It'd be nice. We should do it together. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go set one up and we'll go abroad somewhere. We'll have a little holiday, shall we? Sounds good.
Yeah. Boys on tour.
Absolutely. So, Matt, this is the time of the show now that everyone kind of gets excited for, because I get to rest my voice for 5 minutes. We're going to bring Leo in, and he's going to come and he's going to ask you a question. The thing is with Leo, because he's only 11, you don't know what he's going to ask you. So this question comes from a mind of a child.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring him in now, and he's going to ask you a question.
Have you ever forgot to press record on a special occasion?
Hi, Leo, mate. That's a great question, and I have to admit, yeah, I've done that very early doors. I always film using 2 cameras. I always, for the speeches, the service, the first time, I've used 2 cameras. So one is fixed high and wide. The other is I will be sort of picking up the action. So maybe the exchange of the rings, the vows, the speaker doing the speeches, and the laughs and giggles from the family members at the seated tables. This one, however, when I didn't press record, that was in my very early days. Luckily, I knew them, and I thought I'd press record. I think what happened is I did press record, but then pressed it again, and about two or three minutes into the speeches, I realised that I wasn't recording, and it went into a blind panic, hit record. This was, it's got to be a good 20 years ago. I think that must have been about the 3rd or 4th wedding in. And I was so embarrassed, felt really bad. And long story, I mentioned it to the groom. That was Dad's part at the very beginning. So we just got him in a quiet room and luckily only lasted I missed about 2 or 3 minutes. So we just got him to recite his speech again right at the very beginning, and we just dropped that in. And I think when you saw the edit, you wouldn't really know, apart from those in the know. But I'll tell you what, this game is a very steep learning curve, and once you've done it, you'll never do it again. And that is one of the first things. I'll check, I'll double check, I'll triple check to make sure that's recording. The one and only time I've done it and never done it again, never come close to it again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And
good question. And I'm embarrassed to admit, it's happened.
I'm not going to lie. I have done it myself once, right early on. And the other thing you don't do again, which I found very early on, is if you're recording some speeches and there's a mirror behind where the couple are doing their speeches, is not to be stood in the shot, which you don't realise until you get back. Yeah, that's another rookie mistake.
Yeah.
But again, it's a learning curve. You're always learning in this job. You're always looking back and go, "Oh God, I'm in the shot," or do you know what I mean? And you're just trying to. You're just trying to. Well, you learn all the time. And the thing is, as well, I've said this as well previously on the Wedcast. Every wedding you do, you're always learning something new. Every wedding is totally different. You know, you could do back-to-back weddings and at the same venue, which I've done, and both days are completely different. You know, they're the same wedding because. At the same venue, because it's not necessarily the venue, it's not necessarily the wedding, it's the people that are there that change the day and make that day.
Exactly that. There's so many variables on the day, weather being probably the biggest one, but that is the one variable you can't do anything about.
Absolutely.
So weather can really affect the images you're going to capture on the day. It might mean not be able to get them outside for the length of time that you want. You'll have light issues if it's dark, too dark, because we all love natural light.
Mm-hmm.
Without it, we're a little bit stumped, and doesn't mean to say you can't film, but it means a case of adjusting camera settings, maybe getting some lights up, and like you say, can be down to guests. What I find a lot is. When you if someone, most of my stuff is candid, but if somebody do realise they're being filmed, they'll they'll do one of two things usually. They'll either turn and play up to the camera and dance, mug about, which is great,
Yep.
I'll take some of that. Or they'll get embarrassed and turn away so you can't see them. So I think, okay, challenge accepted, and I'll get you later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But probably the biggest one in terms of difficulties on the day is probably down to either registrars, but more with vicars.
Absolutely, I was going to ask you this.
Yeah, you'll go to the same venues, same churches, but have someone different officiating. Some are really understanding and really quite happy for you to do come and go almost as you please, but others,
can be stubborn.
Very, very difficult. So I'm with 100% on same venue, same church, whatever. You could have back-to-back weddings, very, very different experiences because of those things.
Absolutely. And just a couple of quick fire questions at you. So obviously the vicar thing I was going to say, they can be quite hard to work with on the day. Some registrars can be, but the majority of the time they are easy to work with. I mean, as you said, have you ever... Well, you pretty much answered it, but the answer of the question was, have you worked with vicars or registrars who are hard to work with?
One in particular, that was at Save Creek near Fakenham last year.
Yeah.
Turned up, he said, video. I knew nothing about that. I said, you did? Because I checked with the bride and groom and they'd already spoke to him at the rehearsal on the Thursday. They part of when they signed their booking form, it says that they need to inform the registrar or the church that video is going to be present. And then his next line was, but you need a licence. And with that, I had in my top pocket was the licence, and he snatched that out of my hand. Really, really rude. And he put me in the furthest corner he could get me.
Wow.
He was a nasty piece of work. He really was, to the point I've very, very rarely said something. But you got to remain professional and go with it. But the worst thing would have been to have done was to said something and then he literally say, "No, you're out." So it's somebody's day you're playing with, isn't it? But some vicars unfortunately get a bit above their station. If that's the right phrase to use. But yeah.
Next question for you. What cameras are you currently shooting on?
They're full body cameras. They're Sony 4K. I won't bore you with the model numbers. I have toyed several times on using DSLRs, which are great. The images from those are fantastic, and in some situations will beat my cameras. Yeah. Head and shoulders, but because we do a lot of stage shows, I can't be changing lenses and stuff and have lots of cameras with fixed lenses. I need to be zooming in on the action and things like that, so that wouldn't be practical from my workload.
Absolutely.
So that way, but yeah, maybe one day I'll change.
And what do you edit on? Final Cut or is it Premiere Pro?
Yeah, Final Cut, yeah. I've been on Mac for as long as I can remember now. When I first started, that was on I can't even remember what the program was, on a PC, and that was so unreliable. Crashed so many times that I couldn't handle it. But PC, a lot edit on PC now, and Premiere Pro, and don't have any issues with the wire phone. Very stable, very secure. The technology, like we said earlier, the technology is improved so much.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with the Mac, happy with Final Cut. I know my way around it. They're all pretty much the same anyway. The different editing suites, they have the same. The basics are the same. It's just getting to know each of the interfaces on where to find things and what have you. But yeah, I love it. I won't change in the near future. Put it that way.
Absolutely. I mean, when I started editing process, it was for me. Well, when I initially used to do videos when I was younger, I used to mess around on Windows Movie Maker. That's how long ago that was. And then I went to, when I did my degree, I did it in Premiere Pro, and now I do it all on Final Cut, and I just prefer it. You find what works best for you.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. There's a lot of pros and cons for both of them, but for either Premiere Pro or Final Cut. But yeah, I love Final Cut.
So, where can we find you, Matt? Are you online? Obviously, you've got a website and you've got social media. Do you want to plug those?
Yeah, well, the website is www.zestmedia.tv. On there, you can find a link straight to Facebook, in Instagram. I think I'm even on TikTok, but I can't get my head around TikTok, to be honest with you. But I've posted 2 or 3 things on there, and you seem to have more impact on there. Instagram seems to be the most popular at the moment, doesn't it? But yeah, you'll find a link on the website that will take you directly to them. So by all means, get on there, get on the links, give us a like, give us a follow, because that does all help.
And you've got the 2-day show coming up. Obviously, so by the time the show goes out, you would have done the 2-day show, but that's one that you do. Have you got any other wedding fairs coming up this year that you've booked?
Yeah, I think we've done some hall a couple of times this year, all through the event company. Diana Sims, she's great, and her team for putting on these shows. They're always good footfall through them, well advertised. Really, really, really good shows to be involved in. So there's a couple at Dunstan. I think where else are we? The Octagon Barn later on this year as well. But yeah, I don't think there's any more. There's only so many you can do, because what you do actually find, you find the same faces at them anyway. So but yeah, they're good ones to do. Good football, good turnout.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today, and it's been really interesting to talk about and hear about how you do things. Obviously, because we do things differently in some respects, but we also do a lot of things the same. So it's really definitely good. And obviously, if I always hand work on to you if I can't do it, and I know you do the same to me, and that's how it should be in the wedding industry. There shouldn't be people who don't help each other out, because we're one big team at the end of the day. Although we don't work like a conventional workplace where you work with work colleagues, we are really one big team, and that's how I look at it anyway. You know? Yeah,
that can actually be very lonely. In the grand scheme of things, there's a great body of people, not just other videographers, but photographers, florists, cake decorators. There's so many people I know within the industry, and a great bunch of people. It's a nice family to be involved with.
It really is, and there's nothing else quite like working in the wedding industry, and especially what we do. And I've said this before over and over again: you can't describe what we do unless you do it.
Definitely that.
But anyway, Matt, I will let you go. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and hopefully we can catch up again for this wedding season. And if not, I'll catch you down the road somewhere.
Exactly. We'll have to go out for a beer sometime.
Absolutely. That sounds perfect.
Cheers, James. I really enjoyed it.
Well, guys, that is episode 9 wrapped up. And thank you ever so much to Matt for coming in from Zest Media to have a chat with us today. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you, Matt. And also thank you, Leo, for coming in to ask your question. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a fantastic week. And we will see you next week on the season finale. And in the meantime, I will catch you all on the flip.